Rahel, thank you so much for joining me today on this video testimonial to tell other women about the work we do here at This Doctor Lifts. So I'm just going to start off with a generalized open-ended question of just what stage you're at just now in TDL at the moment.
Well, quite an exciting stage, really. I'm about 2 weeks away from leaving Mindset for Weight Loss with Katie, and then I'm going to fly solo. So yes, it's quite an exciting time.
Gotcha. So you went through the TDL method and then you're almost through the phase 2 of Mindset for Weight Loss.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So let's go back before TDL for a moment here. Can you tell me, if you can remember, because it's been, 6 months now, can you tell me what that was like for you? Like, how did you feel? You know, who was the person then compared to who you are now? Because I gather it's a little bit different than who you are before, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit different is a massive understatement. I was thinking about this earlier in terms of where did I start and where am I now? And I think from just an obvious point of view, it was before I was unhealthy, unfit. I tried to get away with thinking that I was overweight, but no, I wasn't. I was ridiculously obese. And the biggest thing really is that I always felt like I've gone through so many different diets and so many different programs and so many different things. And, it's like do X, Y, and Z for 6 weeks. And then, wow, it's going to be amazing. And, after about 2 weeks, you'd start to think, this is rubbish. This is completely rubbish. My whole life now revolves around this one thing. And I'm kind of losing out on everything else that's, I should be enjoying in life. And, so it's been... and now I'm kind of none of those. I always felt like before TDL, I always felt like I was this kind of, jack of all trades, master of none. So all of this information from lots of different sources, they all kind of, some of them said similar things, but overall there was a lot of contradiction. And then, as soon as I thought, oh, maybe I could do something by myself, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing because I was just completely overwhelmed with everything that I was supposedly doing or not doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically somebody lost in the woods, couldn't see the tree for the woods, and not well at all, really.
Okay. So it sounds like before TDL, you were really confused with what path to take. Like you said, there's a lot of contradictory information out there. You really just didn't know what to believe, and you've tried other programs before, and 2 weeks later, it would be like, okay, this isn't working type thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that the initial reason you think that for the initial reason that you reached out to TDL, or was it something else? Like what made you reach out to TDL?
I think, well, when I started, it was just the beginning of lockdown. And I had reached the point where I'd figured out that if I don't do anything now, I would never do anything about it. And then I had the 5-day free bit pop up on my Facebook, and I thought, do you know what? It can't be worse than anything else I've ever done before. So I gave it a go, and from the word go, it was just such a different experience because it was from the word go, there was always somebody there who was in contact. And that had a massive impact, and that made a real big difference for me because it was, it wasn't just that, once a week we might care about you, and then check in with you. There was a consistency. There was and I wasn't just a number on somebody's spreadsheet, and that made a huge difference. I mean, I worked with you for a really long time, and it became, it was, I have to say, when I moved on from the main phase to Mindset for Weight Loss, it was really weird because I was like, oh no, I'm not going to see this anymore. But yeah, it just, from the word go, it made me feel a lot more comfortable about giving it a go. And the information from the word go was a lot more kind of user friendly at the beginning. It made more sense. It was something that I could fit into my life, and it wasn't something where I would have to completely twist everything around to make it fit around some crazy plan.
Yeah.
And that was a massive thing.
That's a great, yeah. So it was really that individualized attention from the start. You really grasped and really appreciated, and like you said, just not a number on a spreadsheet. That's really awesome. And I'm, again, look how far you've come since then. Absolutely. So I'm glad that you went through that 5-day challenge and you became a client of mine and you kept progressing. So this is just absolutely incredible. So going back to that part in the journey, you just started out, from the first word go. What was your first goal? Like, what was your initial goal starting out, and like, what did you want?
Yes, I think that I remember that call that I had with Elaine. That was just heart-wrenching. So yeah, anybody who's interested in it, just be prepared. You're going to have to wear your soul on your sleeve. So that first call with Elaine was heart-wrenching. It really was having to dig quite deep to figure out what it really was what I wanted. Yes, on the forefront it was, I want to lose weight, but actually it became so much more, because I'd realized that with the weight I was carrying and with the fact that I was very unfit, I started to feel serious side effects on my health. And I'd got to the point where I thought, if I don't do something, really the main goal that I want to have is I want to still be around when my children are grown-ups. And that realization was a really big thing, because like I said, initially it was just, oh yeah, losing some weight, that'd be great, but actually there's so much more just hiding behind it. And yes, and it was realizing that really then helped me to have that goal in mind. And whenever there was a moment where I thought, oh, can I really be bothered, or do I really go do an exercise session? It's like, yes, you do, because otherwise you won't see your children when they're adults.
Nice. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So a really big epiphany moment there in that call that really drove you forward. And thank goodness it happened. And I want to hear, what is the biggest achievements that you've had at your whole time here at TDL, like your experience overall? What were your biggest wins? What were your biggest achievements that you can tell us?
Biggest achievements, well, I suppose it would be daft not to talk about the big number thing, and that is that since I've started with TDL and I started on the 5-day challenge, I've lost over 30 kilos. So, and that is just a massive thing,
thing.
Yes, it was when the other day I've kind of figured out, I was like, yes, I've basically lost 2 versions of my 4-year-old. So that's the massive thing. On top of that, I feel so much more energy. I play with my children, which was a bit of a drag before, and now I like going to the park with them. We go on bike rides. I take them when I go running. I drag them with me, the poor souls. So it's great. I feel massively more confident, and one of the big things that has happened just recently is that while working through Mindset for Weight Loss, and with the support of Katie, I made the big decision and the big jump, and after nearly 4 years I've stopped taking my antidepressants, and that has been a massive move.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of trepidation initially, because I thought, what if I go straight into a deep dark tunnel? But it hasn't happened, because we've been working on so many different ways of how to deal with deep dark tunnels, that yes, I feel brilliant, and for the first time in a really long time I can feel the highs as they are, not the muffled version with being on medication.
Absolutely. So there's so many things that have changed, not just physically, like the big numbers, but playing with your kids and emotionally feeling so much different about yourself. You mentioned confidence, and those emotions are really, really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what's helped you to, you know, achieve everything that you have up until this point. So that is incredible. So for the ladies that are listening in just now, what would you say is different from TDL compared to maybe other things you've tried before? Or, you know, what stands out to you that helped you get to the point where you are right now?
I think there's two main things. One is that you're always an individual, and whatever is specific to you is always taken into account, whether that's related to, you know, the initial stages of food dislikes and likes, and, you know, the things that you think you know you really can't be without, they will always be there. And then, you know, as it then moves on in the program to, you know, to introducing exercise and things, everything that's part of your daily life is always going to be taken into consideration when it comes. I remember when I started with exercise, I had massive knee problems. So you put in a massive amount of knee rehabilitation exercises, and, you know, and they've been brilliant, and ever so often I still do them, but I've not needed to do them for a really long time because I have built up the muscles around my knees, and it's brilliant. So all of those things, you know, whether they're physical ailments or time restraints because of work and family, all of those things are always taken into consideration. The other thing that has made a massive difference is the community, because it's not just once a week you kind of get together, trot on a scale like you would do in so many other places. You know, there is if you want to be in daily contact, you can be in daily contact with everybody, whether that's directly with the coaches through the app or whether it's with all the other ladies on the Facebook page. There's masses of ways of how, you know, if you're not sure about something, or we all love each other's wins. And I think this is one of the biggest things that I felt, was that this is probably the first and only all women's group where there isn't women kind of horribleness and jealousy going on. We're all rooting for each other, we're all supporting each other, we're all there for each other. And I think that again makes a massive difference, to have everybody, you know, fighting each other's battles and working with each other rather than against each other. When there's no competition there, you know, we're there as a team, we're together.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what would you say you enjoyed the most, given everything you just mentioned there? What's the biggest thing you enjoyed the most, would you say?
I think joining in with all the other women on the Facebook, it's been great. As everybody comes from such different backgrounds, and we can all learn from each other. And, you know, if one person has you know, struggles with or isn't quite sure and how to you know, plan ahead for the next few days, there is other people around who feel confident that I've tried this and it's really worked for me. And then we always have, you know, different exchanges of, you know, okay, I'm going to give this a go, and then we give feedback a few days later. I've tried it, didn't work for me, but we've given it a go, and that's absolutely fine. Or I've tried it and it's brilliant, I'm never going to do anything else. And those are the kind of things that have been just immensely helpful.
That's great. I know you shared a lot of wins in your journey too. I hope you don't mind me sharing. The biggest one that I really loved was when you were able to put your wedding dress back on.
Yes.
Do you remember that? You shared in the group, you shared your watch being tighter. I mean, was that like a really big moment for you?
It was, yes, because I'm a bit weird. I love prancing about in my wedding dress. And if, you know, when I first saw it, I loved it, and I loved wearing it on my wedding day, and I still love it. So having that extra weight before TDL and not being able to, you know, even contemplate putting it on because it would not have worked. It's just, yes, it was fantastic to be able to fit into it. And, you know, I've tried it in between, and then when there was the day where it wasn't just that I could just about close the zip, but I could close the zip comfortably, and I could breathe in it, and you know, that was just fantastic. And yes, afterwards I did prance about in my wedding dress for at least an hour.
As you should. That's a huge celebratory moment right there. 100%. So that is just so phenomenal. Now, going through your entire time here, you've shared what your biggest wins were, your achievements, what you enjoyed the most. I kind of want to ask on the flip side, was there anything that you found challenging, or was there anything that surprised you about going through a journey like this?
I think the main challenging thing right at the beginning was to kind of try and forget all of the nonsense I had picked up from other methods of supposed weight loss miracles and whatever schemes there were, to just kind of ignore those and just trust the system. I think that was one of the biggest things initially, because I had a good 10 to 15 years of kind of dieting on behind me already, and so there was a lot of ridiculous information in my head, and it was really to just surrender all of that and really just go with it and trust it and listen to all the advice that I'd been given. And then the surprise was that by doing that, I could see that things were changing drastically. With initially, I remember at some point posting a picture of my work trousers that were really quite tight at the beginning, and all of a sudden I could wobble them about, and things like that. Those that it is working. Just trust it, go with it. Yes, it might feel, there will be some bits in the journey that feel counterintuitive. There will be bits where you think, I've always learned this to be different. Just go with it.
That's amazing. That would be my follow-up question, is what would you tell yourself knowing what you do now back then? And you're just telling yourself, like, I was told this information, I just have to trust it. And you were learning from when you did that, you saw the improvements and the change happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh
And
my goodness.
it's and I think one of the big things as well is that it's, let's face it, if I were to ask any of you, it's like, okay, so you tell me that this is backed by science, show that to me. You would actually be able to do that, rather than just somebody going, I now need to make something up real quickly. If I were to ask you, okay, you talked about this, can you show me where you got that information from? And you can, and that is the biggest, that's a massive thing.
Yeah, and I know that's something you really enjoyed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. That is amazing. So even though you found it challenging, or maybe something that was a surprise, it turned out to, benefit you and improve you and your journey in the long run. So that is really great to hear. So my last and final question, Rahel, would be, what advice would you give to someone who is maybe on the fence just now? And I'm, before, we started this, we talked about, you were once in that position, right? Like being on the fence, maybe a little bit apprehensive. So someone who maybe wants to lose weight, but can't find the time, or maybe someone who's followed TDL for a while, for a period of time now, but they're nervous. Like, what advice would you tell someone in that place just now?
I think the biggest thing really is if you want to make a change, you have to actually do something about it. Being stationary is just going to leave you exactly where you are at the moment. And I completely get why there'll be lots of people who think, shall I not? Because, I'm not going to beat around the bush. It is a big investment. However, at some point I had somebody say that you've put a lot of, a big investment into the fact that you are unhappy with yourself. That was a big investment. It lasted a long time and it has a major impact on your life. You probably feel a bit rotten about things in your life. And now it's time to invest to find the happy you. And that is the biggest thing. And that is one of the biggest things that I definitely take from this journey.
Amazing. So follow up from that, you're saying it's worth it with a major investment because you invested in yourself with all of the time and the energy and the effort you put in to get the outcome where you're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think, throughout the whole journey, there's always, we need to concentrate on ourselves. We need to have, and I know the two of us kept calling it bubble time, where we need to just have time to ourselves, where we can focus on the things that are important to us. And, this is it. TDL is it. It's one of the biggest things that you can possibly do for yourself. And then, sorry, I'm getting teary.
Okay.
And then it has the bigger impact, because it's not just a massive bonus for yourself, but it's a massive bonus for your family as well. So my kids have a mum who's not droopy mum, but fun mum. My husband has a partner who actually enjoys being intimate and close to her husband rather than coiling away. And, those are massive, massive things. And they have had an immense impact on my life, but also on the whole family's life.
Yes. And that's very, very, very powerful. And you can't put a price tag on that. Absolutely. No. Well, Rahel, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate this. And for those listening in, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us in Facebook or Instagram. And Rahel, I will talk to you shortly. I hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you very much. You too.